Ram, 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 Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Huh? Are they doing class or do you the mother? Tell the mother then. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari. Jashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjan Jashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjan Jashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Slower a bit, Shravan. A little bit slower. Ready? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm going to finish. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jayo Jayo Gurudev, 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 Jai Jai Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribol. Finish. Gaura Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for coming to Bhaktivedanta Manor today. At 6 o'clock, we usually have a Bhagavad Gita class. So today we'll be discussing chapter 2, verse 60. If you face this way, and the verse is up on the screen, so you could. I'd ask you to repeat as well. But before we start, I'll start off with the short kirtan. So please do repeat after me. So, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Please repeat. Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Shodanandana Prajajana Ranjana यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda Shri Radha. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gaurani Dai, Gaurani Dai, Gaurani Dai, Jaya Gaurani Dai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So thank you so much for coming to the Bhagavad Gita class again. I'm just going to recite prayers to Guru Krishna and all the devotees present first. And please do join in if you know the prayers, but just to invoke some blessings so I may say something useful. So starting off. Om Jnanantimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shra Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shra. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Panamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from chapter 2, verse 60 of the Bhagavad Gita. For the sake of time, I'll repeat, and I won't ask others to repeat it because I'm mindful of time. But please repeat after me. Like I'll recite it 3 times. The Yatati hiyapi konteya. Please repeat. Yatati hiyapi konteya. Yatati hiyapi konteya. Purnusya vipashitataha. Purushasya vipashitaha. Purushasya vipashitaha. Indriyani pramatini. Indriyani pramatini. Indriyani pramatini. Haranti prasabham mana. Haranti prasabham manaha. Haranti prasabham manaha. And now for the word-for-word translation, please repeat after me. Yatahta, while endeavoring, he, certainly, api, in spite of, Konteya, a son of Kunti, Purushasya, of a man, Vipishita, full of discriminating knowledge, Indriyani, the senses, pramatini, agitating, haranti, throw, prasabham, by force, manaha, the mind. The translation and purport by Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. Please repeat after me. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. The purport: there are many learned sages, philosophers, and transcendentalists who try to conquer the senses, but in spite of their endeavors, even the greatest of them sometimes fall victim to this material sense enjoyment due to the agitated mind. Even Vishvamitra, a great sage and perfect yogi, was misled by Menaka into sex enjoyment. Although the yogi was endeavoring for sense control with severe types of penance and yoga practice, and of course there are so many instances in history of the world. Therefore, it is very difficult to control the mind and senses without being fully Krishna conscious. Without engaging the mind in Krishna, one cannot see such material engagements. A practical example is given by Sri Yamunacharya, a great saint and devotee, who says, Yadavadi mam cheta Krishna padar vinde nava nava rasa dhamani udyatam rantum asist tad avadi pata nari sangama smaram mane bhavati mukha vikare shustu nistivanam cha. Since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and I have been enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it and I spit at the thought of it. So, yatati hi apikonteya. So even for one who endeavors, O son of Kunti, purushasya vipashita, for a person who is discriminating, vipashita, indiyani pramadini, the turbulent senses, haratinti prasambham manaha, forcibly carry away the mind. So here, Krishna continues answering Arjun's question about how an enlightened person controls his senses. In the previous verse, he stated that without a higher taste, the senses remain wild. And in this verse, he explains how that happens. So several important points emerge from this verse. Firstly, it is not referring to any ordinary materialistic person given to sense gratification. Certainly, not someone who simply indulges in it, nor even one who engages in pious sense gratification. Pious sense gratification refers to those who follow karma kanda, seeking artha, wealth, and kama, pleasure, within the bounds of dharma. This is a separate category altogether. Yatatihi api konteya. The word yatato means endeavoring. This person does not think, now that I have to perform my dharma, karma is my right, the fruit of my dharma. Instead, they aspire to go beyond the reach of the senses, beyond sense gratification, towards spiritual pursuits. They are yatato, endeavoring to control the senses. And then Krishna says, Puruchasyasya vipashita. Such a person is discerning. They truly understand the difference between matter and spirit, between temporary and eternal happiness, and they seek eternal pleasure. So this verse is referring to a person who knows that, the difference between, they understand that they're the soul and not the body, but yet they struggle to control their senses. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 42, so the word used for karma kandis is avapichitaha. Those who are not very discriminating, who cannot differentiate between the material and spiritual. In contrast, this person is vipashitaha, one who can distinguish between matter and spirit. This means that they have gone beyond karma kanda to the process of yoga and are striving to attain the spiritual by minimizing and eliminating the connection with the material. But in spite of that, indriyani pramatini, the senses are wild. So two aspects are emphasized regarding this person's attempt to gain control: endeavoring and discerning. Vipashita means discerning or discriminating. Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. The word discrimination often carries negative connotations, such as caste or racial discrimination. In today's context, discerning is a more appealing term. While this person is both endeavoring and discerning, endeavoring being a matter of willpower and discerning a matter of intelligence, when neither is sufficient, what happens? Indriyani pramatini, the senses go mad. Pramata means mad, and pramatini means maddening. Harati prasabham manaha, they carry away the mind. Prasabham means wildly, restless, in a very forceful way. So to understand how the senses carry away the mind, we could consider the chariot body metaphor. So in this analogy, the senses are like the horses, the mind is like the reins, and the intelligence is like the charioteer. Right? So yatata and vipashita indicate that intelligence is both endeavoring and knowing. The charioteer understands, this is not the path I should take. This is the right path. However, despite this awareness, the horses, the senses are so strong that they pull the chariot in another direction. So if the chariot is meant to stay on a particular road, but the horses catch some sight of some fruit or vegetables, for example, by the roadside, they become mad with desire. Even if there is a ditch in between, they wear, of course, rushing forward towards the food. And as a result, the whole chariot topples over due to their forceful pull. Similarly, the senses forcefully carry away the mind. Haranti prasabham manaha. Krishna describes how when a person tries to control the senses and keeps them disciplined, the wild senses rebel and drive them away. So two words are used here, prasamatini and prasabham. Prasamatini means agitating, maddening. It's bad enough if someone is mad, but if they are also powerful, that becomes even more dangerous. Madness itself brings a kind of power. When a person goes mad, sometimes 2, 3, or even 4 people are needed to restrain the person. But if he is also formidably built, the combination of madness and strength becomes a deadly force. So likewise, the senses are mad and pull forcefully, making it extremely difficult, almost impossible to maintain control. The senses drag the mind away. Metaphorically, the horses pull the reins, and the entire chariot moves in the direction of the horses, rather than where the charioteer intends to go. This loss of control is dangerous. In literal terms, the senses dragging the mind away means that in this verse, in chapter 2, verse 58, Krishna spoke about controlling the senses and drawing them inwards, just as a tortoise withdraws its limbs. But here, the exact opposite happens. Instead of drawing consciousness inward through the senses pull consciousness outwards. This leads a person to act immorally, anti-devotionally, or even criminally, depending on the nature of the actions performed. In this way, the senses forcibly carry away the mind. So there seems to be no solution to this forceful dragging away by the senses. So what more can a person do? Though he possesses two essential qualities, yatato, endeavoring, and vipashitaha, discerning, yet still he fails. This can be quite unsettling. So often when we struggle to observe a fast, for example, on a sacred day, or fail to follow a spiritual practice, we assume the problem is that we're not trying hard enough. But when one is yatato, earnestly endeavoring, and still does not see results, it's easy to become discouraged. The key is to recognize that life moves forward from one situation to the next, and we must move forward as well. If we become fixated on a particular pleasure, that pleasure will be temporary, but attachment to it, the hope that we will find some pleasure in some other form or combination in the future, never fades. So this is how material nature entraps us. The external world constantly changes its appearance, making us think, "Oh, I have never enjoyed this before. Let me try it again." But in reality, we are experiencing the same thing repetitively, whilst continuing to suffer endlessly. So only when we learn to fix the mind on Krishna, we could find the true solution. Here, Krishna explains that even a wise and discerning person can be waylaid by the strong and impetuous senses. However, if one can fix the mind on Krishna, as will be mentioned in further verses as well, then one's efforts will bear fruit. So how does an enlightened person control his senses? So first one must control the senses. Then with the senses under control, one should fix the consciousness on Krishna. Once the consciousness is firmly fixed on Krishna, one can truly conquer the senses. The critical element here is the addition of matparaha, indicating that devotion to Krishna is the key factor in achieving true mastery over the senses. So until now, Krishna has been Arjuna's instructor, guiding him since his surrender in the second chapter. As a teacher, Krishna has explained how to control the senses, but he reveals a different role, not just as an instructor of sense control, but as the very object of the controlled senses. Many may teach sense control and offer methods to restrain the senses, but Krishna alone is the one whom could control the senses, and of whom which the senses are meant to be fixated upon. This means that he is the ultimate goal. Yukta asista matparaha. When one's consciousness is thus centered on him, true conquest of the senses follows. So in this connection with the previous two verses, verse 2:59 states, Param drisva nivartante, one becomes steady in sense control upon experiencing a higher test. So, but when one fixes its mind in Krishna, one achieves the true success in sense control. When we talk about control, it always has a purpose. For example, when driving a vehicle, we are advised to keep it under control. However, keeping a vehicle in control does not mean keeping it motionless. It means keeping it on track. So similarly, in sports, when we say a batsman is in control, it does not mean he is motionless. Rather, it means he is playing well, anticipating how the ball will spin, or or seeing and responding accordingly. To be in control does not imply stillness. Rather, it means acting with awareness and precision. So the same principle applies to the charioteer. Keeping the horses under control does not mean keeping them motionless, but ensuring they stay on course. Likewise, controlling the senses does not mean making them inactive. Though such emotion may arise at times, true sense control means keeping the senses on track, aligned with one's duty, and ultimately leading to the pure state of spiritual consciousness, culminating in Krishna consciousness. So when it comes to spirituality, it does not mean that we give away, whimsically renounce our duties. Actually, Krishna is not going to be happy with that, actually. He wants us to be the experts with whatever we do. Whatever duty we have to perform it expertly, and that's what will please Krishna. But the only difference is keeping Krishna in the center. So when we talk about controlling the senses, is if it is only in the negative, if someone says, don't do this and don't do that, such control cannot last long. If with anything, if I ask you to stop thinking about a dog, for example, in reality, the first thing you will think about is the dog. Telling yourself not to think about the dog means we have to think about the dog first. So the yogis understand that the senses are a source of distress, and therefore, by force, try to control the senses and the mind. However, in reality, this isn't a lasting solution. There must be a positive dimension, which means engaging the senses in a constructive way. The most positive engagement is devotional service to Krishna. Until now, the Gita has not spoken about Krishna or the soul's relationship with him. That is why, at this stage, the focus is yet not on fully engaging all the senses in devotional service, though that will come later. So here the emphasis is on yukta ashista, matparaha, making Krishna the object of one's consciousness, fixating the mind on him. By doing so, one progresses on the spiritual path and ultimately attains him. So what exactly happens when you fix our consciousness on Krishna? We have all experienced the demands of the senses becoming especially strong when we have nothing constructive to do. When the mind is restless, dragging us in different directions, it often happens because, as the saying goes, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. If we are not engaged in meaningful work, our natural tendency is to seek pleasure in lower pursuits. We all have the innate need for pleasure, though we seek it, the way we seek it varies according to time, place, and circumstances, and individual nature. When the mind, since most of us have engaged in sense gratification in the past, our default tendency is to seek pleasure in it whenever we lack constructive engagement. The way to control the default urge for sense gratification is not merely by saying no to it through brute force, but by saying yes to do something higher and better. The highest and most fulfilling engagement is Krishna consciousness. So when we fix our consciousness on Krishna, we connect with the all-attractive, the all-wise, and the all-powerful Supreme Person. Krishna possesses 6 opulence in full. He embodies and personifies a combination of our heart's deepest attractions. Loving and serving him brings the greatest happiness. So even if we do not yet realize Krishna's beauty or feel deep love for him, simply fixing our consciousness on him brings happiness. That happiness sustains us in our spiritual journey, drawing us closer to him until we ultimately attain him by realizing his love, his beauty, and his sweetness. Even to fix our consciousness on Krishna, a certain level of sense control is necessary, no doubt. However, control is different from conquest. Control implies opposition. It means restraining the senses despite their inclinations. We all have some degree of sense control. And when we use that initial self-restraint to direct our mind towards Krishna, when we do this constantly, the senses gradually become transformed. They become won over by Krishna's beauty. This leads us to the true conquest, where the struggle fades and our life becomes peaceful and joyful. And this is further explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, Canto 4, chapter 22, verse 39, which the purport explains this. So, the devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in devotional service to Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. So how do we? So we could actually engage all our senses in Krishna's service. So we could fix our mind on Krishna's lotus feet and glories. We could, with our ears, we could hear spiritual topics and pastimes of the Lord. With our eyes, we could see the form of Krishna and the devotional environment. With our tongue, we could taste prasad, which is food offered to Krishna, and chant the Hare Krishna mantra. With the hands, we could engage in cleaning the temple or serving devotees, and we can make our own house the temple by keeping a picture of Krishna or a deity of Krishna. So it doesn't just mean literally cleaning the temple floor over here. With our hands, we could engage in cleaning the temple or serving the devotees, I say that. And then with our legs, travel to the holy places and temples to serve the Lord. And then, of course, the main yagna of the Kali Yuga is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And this purifies our consciousness and connects it with the Lord. Really, really important to associate with devotees. So you are what you associate with. And follow a regulative life. So that includes our 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, right? And adopting regulated practices for eating, sleeping, and other daily activities to avoid distractions and temptations. And really, what's important is serving and pleasing the spiritual master. So following the instructions of the spiritual master. So if you don't have a guru, this means following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, or following the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, which are words directly coming from Krishna. So following Krishna if you please Krishna, the more sincerely we try and please Krishna, he knows our heart, right? He'll help us, So and a spiritual master or our mentors are, devotees, senior devotees, they will provide the support needed to navigate the challenges and attachments. And we should, if you're in family life, to keep this Krishna at the center of family life. So integrate devotional practices like daily prayer, chanting and reading scripture into your routine. Setting up a home altar and viewing family responsibilities as an offering of service to Krishna. So actively engaging with family members by praying together, engaging in shared devotional music and activities, kirtan, and practicing communication to resolve conflicts with humility and appreciation. So ultimately, the goal is to shift our focus from material attachments to an intense, cherished longing to serve Krishna, transforming everyday actions into acts of devotion. So we should even include seeing seeing everybody as eternal eternal souls. So we should view our family members and friends as eternal souls to support us on their journey to Krishna, rather than focusing solely on the material relationships. So even in divine, you find a divine connection in daily chores as well. So frame activities like changing a baby's diaper or reading to a child as caring for one of God's children, transforming the task into a devotional act. Communicate with humility, and set spiritual goals, right? So, so there's a contrast. I'm mindful of time, but there's a story of Ambrish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni that was mentioned in this verse. So there was this king called Ambrish Maharaj, and he used to, with great attention, he used to worship the Radha Krishna deities. It say that Maharaj Ambrish always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smelling in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord. And he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasad. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord, 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambrish never desired anything for his sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service and various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from material desires. We're referring to a king over here. A king has a much more opulent, demanding life, and what to speak of us. So King Ambrish was famous as a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. But why? The Rasa Muni wondered, should people respect him more than a great mystic yogi like me? I will teach him a lesson. King Ambrish was a greatly celebrated Raja Rishi, saintly monarch, who lived millions of years ago, during the age of truth. He presided over a royal household with many wives, children, friends, and relatives. He also possessed many elephants, chariots, horses, jewels, ornaments, garments, and an inexhaustible treasury. Yet amazingly, he was not the least bit attached to all these opulences, because he had completely given up the desire to use temporary material things for flickering sense enjoyment. So rather than abandoning his opulences, he accepted everything for serving Lord Krishna in devotion. So for generations, devotees have celebrated how King Ambrish absorbed all the activities of the body and mind in Krishna's service. He always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of the Lord, his words in describing the glories of Krishna, and in all his senses in Krishna's service. Yet despite his full absorption in transcendence, King Ambrish did not neglect his worldly royal duties. Rather, he acted as an ideal God-conscious head of state and never issued a single order for his own selfish enjoyment. He saw Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as his ultimate enjoyer of all his endeavors, political, social, economic, cultural, and religious. And he always offered the results of his activities to Krishna. A perfect devotee, the king acted with full knowledge of Lord Krishna's words and full faith in them. And since King Ambrish's subjects followed the example of hearing and chanting about Krishna, everyone was naturally peaceful and prosperous, to satisfy the Lord even further. The king organized huge Vedic sacrifices and offered him the best of everything. and everything was ideal. So just to satisfy the Lord, King Ambrish and one of his queens once observed a year's long vow of austerity. After observing that vow for that prescribed year, King Ambrish fasted for 3 days and bathed in the river Yamuna. Then with great attention and care, he worshipped the deity of Krishna with fine incense flowers, flaming lamps, and other items. And finally, he gave gifts in charity to satisfy all the guests who arrived at the palace. And when he was about to break this fast, the sage, and you must have heard of the sage, it's this angry sage called the Rasamuni, rocked up at his door. And, the etiquette is the Rasamuni to offer him food first. So Ambrish Maharaj offered him a nice seat and humbly requested him to dine. But first the Rasamuni said he wanted to bathe in the river Yamuna. So he went to the water. So meanwhile, King Ambrish was thinking, it's time to break my fast. What do I do? And then he came to the solution, okay, I'll have some water. But then Maharaj, the Rasamuni returned. And he realized that Ambrish Maharaj had water by his mystic powers. So he got very, very angry. And he released, he conjured up the demon to kill King Maharaj Ambrish. And, what do you think? We'd be running away and like screaming for help, right? But Maharaj Ambrish just stood there and did nothing. But then, of course, Krishna protects his devotees, right? So Krishna took out his Sudarshan Chakra in anger, and he sent his Sudarshan Chakra to kill the Rasamuni. He's a Muni, right? But the so no one could save the Rasamuni. But then eventually the Rasamuni came to Vishnu, and Vishnu said, the only way you're going to stop my Sudarshan Chakra is if you gain the forgiveness of my devotee. Otherwise, there's nothing that you could stop my anger. So, the Rasamuni finally, I'm mindful of time, this story is really nice actually, but so the Rasamuni came back, he begged for forgiveness to Ambrish Maharaj, and what was Ambrish Maharaj's reaction? He's like, don't embarrass me, you're a Muni. I'm nothing, How can you ask for forgiveness from me? And he begged Krishna and Sudarshan Chakra to go away, And so upon that, the Rasamuni begged for forgiveness. So, so there's a contrast between the King Ambrish Maharaj, he was a king, but he was a devotee.